Hello guys, and Ukraine is ready to offer a ceasefire for elections in Russia. This is one of many smart messages that President Zelensky shared during his conference in Munich speech. And honestly, I was very relieved to see that there are some politicians who adequately see the reality. Somehow it became a rare thing in the modern world when everything is so chaotic and unpredictable. There were a lot of important changes in the way people discuss Russia too. Most agree that all these negotiations are totally fake because Putin keeps targeting Ukrainian civilian infrastructure and threatening other countries with direct or hybrid attacks. But we also discussed the success of the Ukrainian armed forces that managed to demilitarize more Russian soldiers in a month that they can conscript. And this seriously destroys Putin's image of the invincible Russian army, and most importantly, the figures from the Russian economy now literally frighten the world because the collapse of the Russian Federation is imminent. And honestly, all the Russian vloggers, observers, and the Kremlin itself are terrified with these messages that now circulate the global media and that were so openly discussed on the Munich Conference. So let's have a closer look at what messages give us some optimism and what actually warn us about the need to remain very united, very alert, and honestly, there are no security guarantees apart from your countries and my country being strong and well prepared. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see Putin in The Hague, subscribe and share these videos to spread the truth. Today, a lot of very important things were discussed on the Munich conference. Some people were super happy to see that the representative of the American administration, Rubio, was way more diplomatic than J.D. Vance the previous year, and actually expressed some concerns about the way Russians treat the negotiation process and did not pretend that everything is perfect. And then President Zelensky spoke openly about the things we experience and the things we know must be done. First of all, I do find this joke extremely important about a ceasefire for the sake of Russian elections because somehow people keep excusing Russia so many violations of law, international and their national. And there are so many things that we forgive Putin's regime and his population because why? And the fact that today many European countries confirmed that his opponent, perhaps the only one active one, Navalny, was poisoned. It was no accident, it was not health problem, but the traditional Putin's approach simply brings this question up. When will the regime in Russia change? Of course, it will not solve all the problems, but let's not pretend that any security, any guarantees are possible while Putin is destroying Ukraine, Europe, and the Russian Federation way faster than any other location. And by the way, today on Anna Danilchuk channel, we have an extremely important, maybe the most important video with the analysis of nationwide protests in various regions of the Russian Federation. And 2025 was the record-breaking year for such protests, and a variety of topics people covered while standing on the streets against, well, obviously, the Russian government. So another important message that I see a lot of you are also sharing, and it's important, was first introduced by our new Minister of Defense, Fedorov, that we need to improve our figures and to demilitarize minimum 50,000 Russian soldiers per month. This definitely led to a wave of panic in the Russian media, but it's a pretty logical move from a country that was invaded, from a country that stands for its future, for its freedom and independence, and a kind reminder, all of these Russian soldiers can save their lives by simply returning back home where they belong, plus there are a lot of things to do in their homes. And the fact that it's not just an announcement, it's the new reality for the Russian army and one of the factors that demotivates new conscripts. And in the recent months, we've managed to demilitarize more Russian soldiers than they managed to conscript. Sums up for that, because this means a safer world and less war criminals prepared to attack your countries and your homes too. Also, many discussed the idea of the security guarantees. The United States keep talking about that. That's what we often mention in our conversations. But I love it that most of these sane EU leaders and President Zelensky mentioned that honestly, in this very chaotic world with the White House administration that constantly changes its attitudes towards allies, we may say that no real security guarantees exist. No, we are a country that signed Budapest Memorandum, that agreed a lot of things to be, a responsible and reliable country on the global map, and it did not help. Russia agreed on the Ukrainian borders multiple times, beginning with Yeltsin and finishing with Putin. They change it based on their crazy ideas, their imperial spirit, and lessons of the Russian history that they misinterpret. And I kind of liked it that President Zelensky mocked Putin's vision of the future that is fully based on myths from Tsar Peter or Tsarina Catherine, and they literally have nothing to do with the 21st century. And the fact that he's constantly hiding in bunkers, he's never on the front lines, now he's hiding from his own population, and that is a sign that he's afraid of questions. He knows that the situation is getting more and more worse in Russia, that he's losing control, that he cannot guarantee that stability and security which he promised to the population that gave up their freedoms for this illusion. So it's a very bad time for Putin, and please, let's not let anyone save him out of this trap that he created for himself. He is old, let's be realistic, and he cannot be the one responsible for the future of this planet. And he should be treated as a person that lost any connection with the reality. So honestly, he cannot even be a part of the negotiation process. And this kind of atmosphere, with comments from the president of Finland, for example, Stubb, I'm a huge fan of him. People from Finland, you're lucky to have him too. He said that Putin has lost this war long ago strategically. If he has some tactical success from time to time, strategically he lost this war, and he lost millions of his people. He destroyed Russian economy. He ruined Russia's image, and everybody sees that. And just imagine that on that Munich Conference, that maybe a decade ago was a place where Putin was respected, or at least treated as a very dangerous figure, he was openly mocked. And I know you know that these Russian propagandists, various military vloggers, and even ordinary people, they can watch, they can read such things, and just imagine how they feel having lost everything in their country, their salaries, their future, their ability to travel the world for the sake of something that they cannot even verbalize. And I'm really glad that there are sane, adequate leaders who do not pretend that they are great deal makers, and who slowly and confidently militarize their countries, demonstrate their continued support to Ukraine, which, out of burden, became an asset with our 21st century modern warfare skills. And subscribe to be a part of this army of freedom-loving, brave, smart, realistic people. Share these videos to spread the truth. Also follow me on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, Discord, and Substack for a weekly newsletter that you will receive each Sunday. Remember, we have -14% off on everything in our merch shop to mark spring, St. Valentine's Day, and to remind the world about the need to defeat Russia. Thank you so much for your support, your friendship, and your love. You know that I love you very much, and I'm so grateful to have you in my life and in life of my beautiful country, Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!